objects, right? So this is a class, but inside I have a single static method that returns no value called main that takes as input a list of strings, an array of strings. So now let me go ahead and create another class. So how do I create a class? Do you guys remember? What's the easiest way to make a class? Yeah, so I make a file, right? So I'm going to create a file, so new, the file. I'm going to call it the same name as the class name will be with .java at the end. So let's create a class about students. So let's call it student.java. Alright, so finish, here it is, and now I need the class, so I do class, the name of the class, student. And often when you've seen the syntax, when we create things like loops and if statements, we need a start and an end, right? In the same way, our class requires a beginning and an end. So I'll do beginning and end. There you go. Okay, great. So I have a class called student. So what's something that you guys do? So remember that a class is used to construct objects. And a class generally couples data and behavior. Data is the attributes, behavior is the function, right? So what is some information I would want to store about a student? Name, yeah. So let's call it, string name, okay? What else would I want to store about you? Age. So I guess that would be an int, age, fine. Anything else?
Year of study.
Year of study, yeah. Maybe we can make that an int, sure. Year of study. Cool. All right, very good. All right, so that's our data. Now we need function. What is like stuff that you guys do? Huh? You what?
Fail.
Fail. Fantastic. All right, good. All right, so fail would be a letter, so that would be a char, right? So we need a function to get your grade. All right. So, okay, so let's do something like, get grade. Okay, so this is going to be a function, right? So for it to be a function, I have to specify the return type, which would be a char. Get grade would be the function. It doesn't need any input because we're getting your grade. It's just going to return, say, F, right? So this is a great way for this student to fail. Fantastic. All right, good. So that's behavior, failing. What's something else? What if we wanted to set the... Okay, you know what, this is good enough. Okay, now, I want to, whenever I make a new student, I want to first set their name. Immediately, right in the construction of the object, I want to immediately specify what the name is. What does that mean? Yeah, I need to create a constructor, and let's have it take as an input name. And then I will take that value, and I will assign it to this dot name. Remember, this dot name refers to this guy, this one, right? It's the name belonging to this object. Okay, so I'm assigning to the name that is passed to me. This doesn't have to be named. This can be Povos to Povos. Let's leave it as Povos for now. Okay, so whatever value Povos has will get assigned to this dot name in construction when the object is first created. So now, let's actually create a student. Watch this. I can go to this completely different class. Where is it? Example. Here we go. And here I can say new student. Cool. And why is this an error? Let's see. The constructor student is undefined. Let's go. Oh, I have to save, sorry. There we go. Alright, now what's the error? Okay. Ah, it's okay. Это можем все public. I need to make this public. Public. Alright, example classes. Okay, now if I do... And then I pass... There we go. Okay, so... One thing that you immediately noticed, interesting. I created a class in a completely different file, and then I used it in this other file, right? So one of the things that you will learn as you program is as your code grows, what you will want to do is rip it into pieces and store it in separate files. This is good for lots of reasons. For one thing, suppose you're working on a team, right? Let's say you have like 3 people working on a project. One person would work on one file, where another person would work on another file, and then when you're done, you combine them and you have your program. Right? So typically what happens is when you have teams, someone will say, okay, you're in charge of writing this kind of code, right? Code that does, I don't know, instant messaging. You're in charge of writing, the timeline. You're in charge of writing, the advertisements. You're in charge of writing comments. And then you bring it all together and you get Facebook. Got it? No one person generally sits down and writes everything. You break it up into pieces, into separate files, into separate components, and then you bring it together and you end up with a single application. So in this case, you can see that I can create a student in a separate class, in a separate file, and then use it inside of this completely other file. Now, okay, so I've created the student, right? So now I have this n, which is the object that was created by calling new student, Joe. And now I can do n dot get grade, this guy. And this should return to me the grade that the student has. So the return type is char, so I can do, there we go. And then I can system.out.print line, the grade that the student is going to get, and then if I run it, I get F. Fantastic. Okay. Now, is that part reasonably clear? All I just said is, okay, you already know classes. We can make many classes, many files, and we can use them interchangeably. Yes?
Can we use non-public methods of public classes on the other side?
Let me talk about public and private later. By default, it's protected, which means you can use it as long as it's in the same package, but we'll talk about that later. Okay, so, you guys get that part? Any questions just regarding what I did here?
Can I ask a question about the student's file?
Yes, go.
In the beginning, when you didn't have public in the student file, why didn't Eclipse complain?
You mean when I did this?
Yeah, shouldn't it complain
It
because...
should be protected by default, and it is. Hang on. Classes. Yeah, it's fine. It's working. Okay, so now let's do something more interesting. Let's actually model Facebook. So let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of this. Okay, what do we have in Facebook? What are some kinds of objects that we have in Facebook? Yeah, so people, right? So people, and then people can have friends, which is basically a list of people, right? Okay, so let's create a person. So create a class called person.java. Okay, so here we're going to say, public class person. Okay, cool. And a person will have friends. So a list of people, right? So person array of friends. Okay. A person will have a name typically, so string name. All right, maybe that's enough for now. Then in our constructor, public person, which takes, let's say, initializes with a name. So we do this dot name equals name. Okay, so far? Furthermore, I'm going to say this dot friends is a new array of people. Okay, how the heck do you create a new array again? 1 second. Oh, like this. 1 second. New. 1 second. Person. And now the array should be, what's the maximum number of friends you can have on Facebook?
5,000?
5,000. There you go. Cool. So now, look what we've done. Every time we create a new object, we will specify what the name of that person is, and we will create a list of about 5,000 places where we can put friends. Fair? Okay. This is not helpful. Now, let's now create a function to add a person. So, you know, public add friend. So we want to pass as input a person that you're going to then add as a friend, right? So person. Okay, now I want to add this person. Oh, and it returns void. Good. Now I want to add this person to this array. Now I could just do this. This dot friends 0 is person. That's fine, I could do that. But there's a problem there. What is it? What is the problem you see with what I just wrote? Exactly. I'll only ever have one friend, right? Because every time I get a new friend, I'm going to remove the old and I'm going to add the new, right? So what we want to do is somehow add the person to a place in the array that is empty, right? I have an array. I want to add the person somewhere that is empty in that array. Exactly. We can use a for loop. So why don't we do this? So for, how do I make a for loop in Java? Int I is 0. I is less than person.length. I plus plus. Okay. Let's check on it. Person. Oh, sorry. This dot friends dot length. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay. Now I want to check that if this dot friends, that guy, I is equal to null. Remember, null is the empty value in Java, right? It means empty. If that's the case, this is the position we're going to set it. So this dot friends I will be assigned person. And then we're going to check. Եթե sense թողեմ, հա։ Եթե sense թողեմ ճիշտ է, ամեն դադարքի մեջ կդնի, բայց դա ինչ եմ անում։ You can also break. Break means come out of the loop and jump here. Return means leave the function. Both will work. Any question? Who's unclear about how this code works? You're unclear. Okay, look. Friends is an array, right? It's an array of 5,000 that we made here. Okay. When you first make an array of 5,000 people, each position is empty, right? So you have a bunch of nulls. Okay, so 5,000 nulls is what we have. Every time I tell you to add a person, what I want you to do is start from the first position and go until you find an empty place and put the person in that place. That's it. That's all we're doing. So we're starting from 0, the first place. For each place, we're checking, is it null? And if it is null, we're going to set the person in that position and stop. That's it. We're done. Yes?
Can people keep a counter to avoid looping over?
We can, but now I'm going to add remove friend. There's an unfriend feature in Facebook, right? So there should be a public void remove friend, which takes a person and removes them. How do I find a person and remove them? Intuitively, what do you think?
On and off. On and off.
Yeah, I can loop over the array, check, go until I find a place where the value is the same as this value, and if it is, make it null. Right? So look, I can just say for int I is 0, I is less than this dot friends dot length, I plus plus. If this dot friends I is equal to person, in other words, I found the position that has the person I want to remove there, I'm going to set this dot friends I to null. And I'm done. Break. Or return. Do you understand why a counter would be a problem? Because now, even though, yes, you keep adding people next to each other, but then you go and you remove, like, this person here. So you have an empty position there, right? You understand, right? Yes?
Remove a specific person.
Can you remove a specific person? This is the point. You pass a person that you want to remove, and then this loops over and finds the person in this list and makes that position null, thereby removing them from your list. Go.
So just compare
be exactly the same. So this person has to be exactly the same object as the person you passed here. If you want to do it by like an ID, for example, like if you're worried that you're right, that maybe it's a different reference, but it means the same thing, you can have like an ID of a person, and you can just check that. So, you know, person.id. Right? Yes?
If we check that this friends person doesn't it mean that all the persons are the same? Like if we have a person, so if their names are different, it's not going to work, right?
Not only if their names are different, if the object is not the exact same object, it won't work.
So
It's comparing, as she said, the references. You get that? So if I create two objects with the same name, they are two different objects. They're not the same. Հասկացա՞ր?
yeah, but եթե գրած friends in ուղղակի հավասար չի նալ, չէ՞,
Որտեղ?
Hence if this friends in
Ստեղ?
not equal null.
Սպասի, ստեղ? If friends
So
not equal null,
ուղղակի ասում եմ դատար չի։
եթե դարակ չի ինչ։
Դարձում ասում
Բայց այդ ժամանակ բոլորի մգերնես կչիշ ես։
չէ, ու return եմ տալիս։ Այսինքն հենց ինքը գտա,
Okay, ստեղ գտավ։
մտավ մեջը դարձրեց նալ, դուրս եկավ։
Չեմ ջորում ինչ ես ասում։ Ասում ես, եթե սենց անեմ, եթե սա null չի, դա նշանակում է առաջին մարդը, որը որ array-ում կա, որը որ null չի, հենց գտավ իրան null կդարձնի,
Մենք այդ չի։
չէ, ուզում եք specific, ավելացնում ես ինչ-որ user, ու ցանկացած այդ user որ ավելացել ես, կարող ես նաև friend ու unfriend, այդ functionality. Okay, so questions regarding this? It's okay? Alright, so now, let's do this. Now, so here's the thing. No, I'll tell you later. Okay, so here, let's go back to our app, and let's create our app. So first, let's create a person. And let's call them Joe. No, let's give it a full name. What's a fun name? Donald Duck. Okay. Alright, so we have a person called Donald Duck. We're going to create another person. So this is Duck, person 1. We're going to person 2. New person.
Donald Trump.
Mickey. Mr. Mouse. Is that how you spell Mickey? Or is it EY? It's probably like this, right? Okay. Mickey Mouse. Alright. They're friends, right? So let's have person1.add friend. Person 2. There you go. Okay, I've just added Mickey Mouse as the friend of Donald Duck. I can also do, let me make another one. Who's another Disney character? Oh, Pluto. New person, Pluto. So I can say person1.add friend, person 3. There we go. Cool. All right. So now, what's something that we could do here? Let's write a function that returns the names of all the people that a person is friends with. Watch. If I go here, suppose I write a function, public, string array, get names, get friend names. And what I want this to do is to return to me a list of all the names of all of my friends. Got it? Okay, so what do I have to do? Huh?
Loop overall.
Loop overall. So, but what's the first thing? Literally, tell me what to write. Okay.
این هم واسه رزولو.
Yeah.
length.
Okay, so that's the loop. And then for each one, I can do this dot friends I. First, let me check to see if it's null. If this dot friends is not equal to null, okay, then we found a friend. So this dot friends I dot name will give me the name. Okay, so I have the name, but I need an array to add it to, right? Right, so let me do string names, new string,
That's amazing.
interesting.
It's
I need the length of my friends, but I don't know how many friends I have, do I?
You do. You do.
You can. We add a counter.
We can have a counter. We can also write a function that will compute it. Forget this for a moment. Help me write a function that returns to me the number of friends I have. Remember, you know when you go to Facebook, it shows you like a number of, like a count of all the friends that you have, and then when you add a friend, it increases by 1. When you defriend someone, right? I want that number. How do I get that number?
The length.
Okay, tell me. What do I write? I want to write a function that gives me that number.
Int.
Yeah.
Number of
Get num friends. Okay, so how do I figure it out?
array երկարությունը վերցնի։
Ուզում եմ իմանամ իմ ընկերների քանակը։
Int counter is 0.
Okay, then
4.
okay.
Եթե նոր չի, որ translate-ի, translate plus 1-ի հավասար։
Voila. Pause. Any questions about what this function does or how it works? Yes. Yeah, հիմա ես ասում։ Հիմա հասկացար? Okay, any questions now that you can see the code? Yes.
Demek genel friends.length. İnքը մեր եղած friend-ների բանկն է, այս տնալերը չհաշվե friends.length։
Չէ, ամբողջ, նայ, friends-ը array-ա, չէ։ Այդ array-ի երկարությունը կհաշվի։ Ոչ ինքը չի որոշում դադարք չի, այդ իրան չի հետաքրքրում։ Ինքը array-ի երկարությունը հաշվում։ Եթե մենք ստեղծենք array, որի երկարությունը 5000 է, dot length-ը միշտ կտա 5000։ Կարևոր չի, դադարք չի, կապ չունի դրա հետ։ Okay? Քանի index ունի իր մեջ, տենց պատկերացրու։ Other questions? Okay. All right, so this will get us the number of friends that we have in total. So what we can do is we can call this function here we can say this dot get num friends. Now I will create an array that is of that length. That is the length of my friends. Հասկացա՞ք ինչ եմ անում։ Որոշում եմ քանի ընկեր ես ունեմ եւ ստեղծում եմ array այդ քանակի, այդ երկարությամբ։ Here's another way to do it. It's exactly the same what I just did. I just put it into a variable and put the variable in instead. Yes? Okay, I assume yes. Alright, so now that I have the names, now I need to add a value to the name. So what I need is an index to know where am I in my names. So let me create an index called int name index, and initialize it to 0. And in here, what we'll do is we say names, name index should be friends.name, and then name index should increase by 1. And then at the end, we simply return names. Read this code carefully. Tell me if there's something you do not understand.
Can I ask something about this? So when we create, when we add our friends, so we add them to our friend list, but we don't add us to their friend list.
Good question. Very good question. Maybe we should, right? Maybe we should. You're right. Right now, you only add them to yours, not that. Right. It should be a two-way street, right? So we'll do that in a moment. Yeah. You know what we could do is we could create a static function that says like make friends, that takes two friends and calls add friend to both of them. Yeah? S code pausa. Avur. Okay, everyone take out a piece of paper and something to write with. It's not a quiz, relax, or a computer if you can write on your computer. That's fine. Alright, let me... Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to... Let me write this down. Okay, 1. Make a class called the comment event. 2. Add a constructor to your class that takes an event name as input. 3. Write a function to add a member person to the event. So your event should have a list of members, right? And then add a function to add a person, a member, to your event. You get what we're modeling? You know, in Facebook you have events. Events have a list of members, right? You can add people to that list. So make a class called event. It should have in it an array of members, and then add a function called add member that will add a person to that list. Anyone confused with what I asked? You're confused. Write a class called event. It should have a constructor that takes the name of the event. The constructor should also create a members array. Then add a function called add member that will add a person to that event. Trust me, you want to practice writing this code because it's basically going to be the same thing in quiz. Go, go, go. Raise your hand if you need more time. Now raise your hand if you need more time. let's keep going, because you two can keep writing if you want, but let's keep going. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to create a file called event. It's a class event that has a constructor in it. Yeah, you can write public, sure. At this point, it doesn't matter, actually. Later, I'll tell you why it matters. But okay, public event that takes a string name of event and then stores it. So let's store it in here. So, you know, string name, this dot name should be name of event. Okay. Then we also want an array of members. So person array. This dot members is a new person array of. What's the maximum number of people you can have in an event? Anyone know? 100? You sure?
It's unlimited.
3,000. Do I hear 4,000? All right, good. 3,000. Good. All right. Right? Members. Okay. So then I need you to write a add member function that takes a person and adds this person to my members array. Can you guys help me do that? How do I add this person to this array? 4? Okay. Anyone? Yok, Java'm yok o. JavaScript'un gerek var. By the way, do you guys see a big difference between what I did here and what I did here? You don't see a big difference, do you? Okay, so question. If every time I'm going to be adding something to an array, I have to create a for loop, I have to loop over, I have to find the null, and then add the value to that position, why do I keep rewriting the same code? Yeah, why don't I make, you know what, let's make a utility function, a utility class called, so let's write a class called util, or utility.java. And then call it class, utility, and then in here let's put something like, you know, add to array. So add to array. Oh, hang on. Or add person to array, add person to array. Okay, so here I get the array, so person array, and then a person. Person. Go. Okay, and now what I will do is add this person to this array. Help me write this one more time. S uzmem abelatsam sıradır. 10 tane. There we go. Okay, we can have this be public, whatever. Okay, so now we have this person. So now, if we go back here, we can say utility.add. Wait, utility.add Static and person, and then this dot friends and person. Huh. Why is it red? Let me show you one more time. I'm trying to access it this way. Don't you say anything. Why am I not able to call this function? Huh?
Because it's not static.
No.
Orbit
Exactly. We didn't create an object. But do we have to create an object just to call this function? Does it make sense? What if we just made this one static? Now this function is attached directly to utility, and I can just do utility that person. And if I save,
The name is different.
save,
Function was at person to array.
The name is different.
add person to array. Right. If I go back here, save. There we go. Now it works. Notice how this is attached directly to the class. I didn't have to do new utility, make an object, and then call it. Yes?
Why should that add friend be void?
Add friend be void. Do you want your add friend function to return something?
No, how does Java knows we want to return a
By what you specify here. If you say void,
You didn't write void, but you gave arrow
where? Here?
start.
Void.
Start. When you just start, you just write.
When I first started, I didn't write it.
Okay, I think I just
Yeah, if I didn't write it, then it was an error. Yeah, I filled it in later. You have to specify the return type of any function, even if it's void. Yeah? Okay. So this is an example of using a static function. Why is this static? Because it's attached to the class, and not to the object made by the class. Guys, it's important you understand the difference between static and non-static. Raise your hand if you don't. Okay, let me explain this to you again. Can you guys read this? You can. All right, good. Look, you have a template called person, which says that every person should have a name, every person should have a, grade, and every person should be able to, what's something we do? Walk. Okay? So this is a function, of course, and this is just data. Whenever you make an object using this, you make a new person, that person will have a name and a grade and a function called walk. Because this template is used to construct this object. That part is clear. Now, you can also add a function called, add, which takes two numbers and adds them together. If you make this static, this add function is attached to this, not to this.
Why?
Because I wrote static. Static means added to the class rather than to the object itself. Okay? So when you make the object, it copies this stuff over, right? But this stuff stays on person. Now, question. If I wanted to use this function, could I just do person.walk? No, I would first have to do new person, make an object, then do that object.walk and actually use it, right? Static functions, because they're attached to the class, are always there. You can just do person.add and use it immediately. Okay? The difference, why would you have static? When do you use static? When do you not use static? It's simple. If you have a function that just doesn't usually use any of this data, if it's just a function that has some inputs and gives you an output, typically that's static, usually. If you have a function that deals with state, with some of this data, that you usually want to bake directly into the object. So for example, if walk was somehow using this .name in order to compute what walking is, then it would make sense to have it be in the object. Okay. So this walk is a function is specific for this object. Add is not specific. It's a general thing that's attached to the class. Raise your hand if you still don't understand the difference between static and non-static. It's okay if you don't. Okay, if you're still confused by this, come to office hours, please. It's kind of important. Okay, so we can also use this utility in add event here, right? Except it would be this dot members. And we can get rid of all this code. And now we've put all this code into this one nice function called add person to array. Cool. Help me write a function that removes a person from the array. So public.
How about writing function that loops over an array and does what you want?
And does what?
What you want.
As in you give it a function? Like a, how do you tell it what you want? You have to give it a function, right? No, I'm not going to go there. The very latest Java version has lambdas. In other words, this ability to just give a function. But first, I've never used it, so I can't teach it. I just don't know. Second, the syntax is not easy, and I don't want to confuse people. So I want to keep it as simple as possible for now. Okay, so now remove. But you're right. That would be the smarter way, right? Because then you write it one time, and then yes. Okay, remove person from array. So we get an array, person array, and then we have the person we want to remove. Okay, help me remove this person from this array. Go. Oh.
Can I just add something to this point? So can we just pass the boolean, so true or false? So if it's true, we would add person?
Yes. So add, okay, so let's do add or remove. And then we can say boolean is add, or something like that, right? And then here we can say if is add and that, then do that. If not is add and, so that means we have to remove, and array I is the same thing as person. In that case, array I should be null and return there. There. This what you had in mind? Very nice. So now we have this one function that takes an array, a person, and a boolean that when true adds the person and when false removes the person. So let's go back and update our code to, hang on, so this was add, or, well, autocomplete. Add or remove, let's copy it. Copy, go back to here. So here we want to add the person, so we pass true. And here we want to, utility. And here we want to remove the person, so we do everything the same, but here we pass false. How do I remove a person from my event? Anyone? I want to remove them. I have add member. I want to implement remove member. Help me write it. Voila. That's not good. have this event. Okay, so far, what have we modeled in our virtual, like, Facebook environment? We have a person and we have an event. What's something else that you have in Facebook? Timeline. Interesting. So each person has a timeline, right? That's specific to a person. So let's add it. Huh? Live. Okay, we're not getting live video. Okay, so let's have here. So timeline. So what is each thing inside of a timeline? What is that? It's a post, right? Each thing is a post, right? So we need an object to model what a post is, right?
We can create another file.
Exactly.
Timelines, then add it to.
Exactly. Good. Okay, so post. Java. So class post. What does a post have? Like content, right? Like some text inside or something. In reality, a post also has like, yeah, it has a bunch of stuff, but okay, for now, let's just say a post has, oh, it also has the creator, who made it, right? Understand? Okay, so let's say we have a public post, that's our constructor. Okay, post is going to take string content, and it's going to do this.content equals content, and we need a content here. Okay, so a post is just some content and a creator. This.creator is creator, person, creator. Okay, so every time we make a post, we're going to give it two things: the content and who created it. So now let's go back to our example class. And here, okay, so we have some people. We made them friends. Let's create an event. So event, CS110 Expo. New event. And the event takes as an input the name of the event. So CS110 Expo 2018. Okay, so we have that event. Who's going to come to our awesome CS110 Expo? Well, CS110 Expo.add member. Donald Duck will come. As will Pluto. So person 3. Okay. So now look. Notice how we're modeling the world, but with classes. So we have all these people that we made, this event that we made, and now let's write a post about our expo. Okay, so Mickey Mouse, even though he's not going, he's still very excited about the post, so he's going to make it. So he's going to say, new post. So the content is going to be, the CS110 Expo is going to be so awesome. Wait, so excited. XOXOXO. And the author is Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, so that's person 2. Okay. So now we have post. There you go. Okay, so we have 3 people so far, an event and a post potentially about this event. And so on and so forth, and you can keep sort of modeling things in this way. And again, all of these things can have functions attached to them that you can call to do whatever. To delete them, to add a member to them, to remove a member from them, to change the name of the post, etc. Suppose we wanted to add comments, what would I do? Help me model a comment. Yeah, you make another class called comment. Good. What is some data that you would need for a comment? The content. What would be the type of the content? String, yeah. So like the text that you type would be the content. The author. Who made the comment?
The number of likes, the comment receives, and the number of comments, replies that you receive.
Okay, so, but one important thing, what are you commenting about?
Topic.
Exactly. So you need a reference to the topic that you're commenting
Which
about.
is our
Reference to the
And
post.
also to the post under what.
Exactly, exactly. Good, good, good, good. And then a reply to that comment could just be about the comment. You get it? The about would just change to point at the comment. Good. Ooh, that's me. All right, good. So you guys need a homework to do this stuff. So I'll assign the homework today, and it will be the extra credit homework, but it will be Java. This is what we'll probably end up doing. Because I can't give you 2 homeworks in this last 2 weeks, you will die. And I don't want you to die. So, okay, so I'll give you 1 homework assignment for Java. Get it done. Get your extra credit. Huh? Deadline is shot since Chip got on them, but that quiz go. Oh, you want me to put the deadline for the homework after the quiz? Huh? I'm not going to do that, don't worry. No, I will set the deadline before the quiz. So the deadline is going to be very soon because we don't have a lot of time. You guys are going to have like basically 5 days to do it, ish. Eddie, am I missing anything? Es soft oldu dönem. Cişta. Soft oldu dönem. Okay. Yes, I will put this up somewhere, somehow. Yes, no problem. Okay, questions or concerns? It's 1 o'clock. Mai snack, czemu są za szampana? Okay, let me zobaczyć. Okay, I will, listen, it's 1 o'clock and I will let you go early on one condition. That when I post this code, you guys will actually reread it and try to understand it. Agreed? I'll be checking. All right, let's take a photo and then get out of here.